Ageism in women's wrestling. I give you the floor here.
Yes, I appreciate it. So, like I mentioned, people all over the Twitter sphere have been talking about how Alexa Bliss is being left off the card, is being left off after having the biggest pops of anyone's career of all time. And as soon as she finally gets an opportunity, somebody decides to say, oh yeah, give it to the old lady. When, like I said, youngest woman in the match, but I digress. People just hate to see women succeed. I'm sick and tired of the hypocrisy and the bullshit that is the IWC. They're all idiots, and I try to limit my time on Twitter, especially because of the idiots that are there. Now, I have two direct quotes. I believe it was after that tweeting all happened. Maybe it was even after. Oh no, this was also going back to the releases. That's what this one was touching on. So many women were released because they are getting older in their years. Dakota Kai somehow is 37 when she looks 21. Don't get it. But people are talking about how they released her and Shayna Baszler and a lot of other women that are up in their years because they're nearing the end of their career. Meanwhile, they bring in brand new Chef Cobb. They have LA Knight. They have Damian Priest. They have so many other male superstars like Finn Balor, probably Drew McIntyre, and a lot of other, John Cena for Pete's sake. He's the GOAT, don't get me wrong, but all of these men that are in the later years and nearing the end of their career.
And
they're
also,
not being viewed the same way that the women are. Yes.
Tying right into the Becky Lynch promo she just cut, which I loved, where she called out Seth Rollins, of all people, saying people are hating on her for being old when you have men like Seth Rollins and CM Punk in the main event scene of Raw, and nobody talks about their ages, and they're older than she is.
I love her so much because she's so fucking real that she'll call out her own damn husband. Fucking pop off, Becky. That woman right there just proving once again why she is the man, she is the main event, and she is the women's division. Thank you, Becky Lynch, and thank you, August, for bringing that up because I had completely forgotten to write that down. I appreciate you so much. That is such an important thing to bring up with this topic. Becky Lynch, oh my god. Also, how many mothers we have on the roster, women going, having a family, and still being able to come back and wrestle. That's never been done before. And it is, obviously, like, Asuka, Mickie James, back almost 10 years ago. That's insane. But how that has begun with this women's evolution, and it's so beautiful to see. Now, people talking about women who are in their mid to late 30s being at the end of their career. I have a direct quote here from Big E. This was fresh off of the releases, and he said, and I quote, "The way we talk about age with the women and the way we talk about age with the men, and for a lot of women who are in their late 30s, it's, oh, you're winding down. When are you ready to get out? But look, it feels like 75% of the male side is 38, 39, 40, 45. And he talked about how it was just celebrated that Randy Orton said he wants to do another 10 years of wrestling before he hangs up his boots. Randy Orton wanting to do another 10 years of wrestling was being celebrated by everyone in the back, everyone online, all of the fans in the arena, everyone during the panel. So let's give the women the same honor and the same grace as well. Shout out Big E. He is always touching on the important subjects. I love him. I'm so thankful that he said it. I also have a very important quote from Rhea Ripley. She tweeted this after the Alexa Bliss deal, where she was called Old Lady, being the youngest in the match. Women's wrestling fan. Women deserve better. Same breath. She's sleeping with her boss, and that's why she's where she is. She should retire. She doesn't deserve it. She's handed everything and never worked for anything. I hope she gets injured. You guys are the real reason it's so difficult to be taken seriously as a women's wrestler. If you put as much effort into your own miserable lives as you put into degrading successful women, then maybe you would accomplish something yourself. Period. I am sick and tired of everybody always talking about women's appearance, women's age, and just and automatically stereotyping women's matches as the bathroom break. I'm looking at you, Tony Hinchcliffe. I'm also looking at the guy who sat next to me at WrestleMania, not my husband, obviously, he would never, but the old man sitting next to me during any women's match looking at me and saying, yeah, I like the other girl better. She's a lot better looking. Oh, I liked Mickie James. She had a fat ass. Oh, I liked Michelle McCool. She was really pretty and had long legs. Like, it's absolutely disgusting that you can look at me as a woman and expect me to think that that is okay to say. Like, some people just need to get smacked in the face, which is why I am a huge advocate for wrestlers smacking fans in the face. It needs to happen more. All of y'all need to check yourself before you send that tweet about a male or female wrestler.
Or before you do a meet and greet and try to forcibly kiss Soraya/Paige on the mouth.
Literally. Stop sending mail to people's personal home addresses. Stop showing up at their personal home addresses. Stop acting like you are owed something at meet and greets. Hell, Stone Cold Steve Austin had a meet and greet where all you did was shake his hand, get a picture, and walk away. You got 3 seconds with the man. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody complained. They're like, oh yeah, that's just what you do at a meet and greet. I'm sure those were $300 tickets a pop. I can guarantee. Nobody complained. 3 seconds with a superstar and a photo? Nothing. But if a female wrestler doesn't full on make out with you, then they're not appreciative. Then they aren't giving back to the fans the way that they should. Y'all need to check yourselves before you wreck yourselves. I'm sick to death of all of this negativity surrounding women that is rooted in sexism and specifically in this conversation, ageism. Sit your asses down, look in the mirror, and think about what you are doing at your age. And think about what they have done regardless of their age. They are WWE superstars, damn it. Put some respect on their name, because that's fucking hard. And you could never, with your teeny tiny fingers and your stupid little keyboard.
So, I will say in response to that I have my fingers crossed that in 10 to 15 years, the women's ageism isn't going to be nearly as bad as it is today. I think a byproduct of a lot of that has been alleviated in the sense of the big issue with women's wrestling was there wasn't anything for women to do beyond the world title. That was it. There was the Divas title, there was the women's championship, and that was it. And you look at stars like Trish Stratus, who she became a 7-time women's champion and then retired because what's next? Become an 8-time women's champion, a 9 times women's champion, and at that point she was being hated because she was holding everybody else down. There was nobody else allowed to go to the top of the card because it was Trish. It was all Trish. And I love Trish. So that always pissed me off. But now women have their own Royal Rumble. They have a United States, an Intercontinental, 2 world titles. They have the tag team titles. They have a Money in the Bank. So there are now opportunities for women to exist outside. And not only that, but for the first time in, 20 years, or arguably ever, we have had a singles match at WrestleMania that does not involve a sexy time stipulation or a title involved. It was just 2 women in a blood feud that got a match at WrestleMania, which has not happened in so long. So the fact that women are now starting to get these opportunities to shine outside of a world title picture hopefully will alleviate some of the tension here with this, and that we won't but there's still that stigma around because we've had the Women's Royal Rumble for the past like 8 years, not 7 years, 8 years. And there's still that stigma. And so I think that's going to last for a while, but I think we can kind of start phasing out of that. And it's going to take some time because of all of the old fans who are used to, I mean, you look at Charlotte Flair, what does she have left to do? She's a 14-time, technically a 16-time world champion. She's won 2 Royal Rumbles. What does she have left to do? Well, she's never been Intercontinental Champion. She's never been Miss Money in the Bank. You know, women couldn't have Hell in a Cell matches, couldn't have steel cage matches. They couldn't do any of the stipulation matches, and now we can do that. Women have the opportunity to say, man, I want to win a Hell in a Cell match. I want to main event a pay-per-view. Women have these goals that are now realistic. And they should have always been realistic, but because of the people in charge, they were like, nah, that's a joke. You can't even main event Monday Night Raw. It was almost 10 years of wrestling before women got the chance to main event Monday Night Raw. It was like 9 years in. Trish. Yeah, Lita and Trish, which was a phenomenal match. Lita almost broke her fucking neck, by the way.
Broke her freaking neck.
Crazy.
Insane.
But I fingers crossed that does alleviate some of that pressure, but the ageism is insane for women in wrestling. I am very ageist. I will say that. Mine is not particular to the women's division. I'll say that with men as well, all the time.
Yes, he will.
But it ultimately comes down to the fact of, as I always talk about, I still think you can utilize these stars. Just because Becky Lynch is 38 years old doesn't mean she's worthless. Becky Lynch is a made woman. If you're looking at Becky Lynch and saying they need to get rid of her, you're stupid. I'm sorry, you're stupid.
Stupid idiot.
It makes a little more sense if you say that about somebody who has no credibility built behind them. But a superstar like Dakota Kai, I made that argument last week or the week before when we talked on the podcast, how she still has so much left to offer. Yes, she's not a main event woman, and she will probably never reach that status, especially now. But not every woman has to be a main event status. She is a character that the audience can connect with in a different way than other characters on the roster, and you still need that. And saying goodbye to that just because somebody's 37 is fucking stupid. So, yeah, I am ageist. I am guilty of this, though.
But I just want to say thank you, because obviously this is a very sensitive topic for me, and it is very much rooted in a lot of things, obviously, as a 27-year-old woman. But I want to say thank you for pointing out all of the positives and how much there is to look forward to, and all of the good that has come out of this women's evolution, and especially in these last couple of years, and all of the changes that have been made. Because when I started watching, women's careers were on average 6 years, and that was it. And if you were a mom, you couldn't come back. You didn't come back. And women weren't having stipulation matches. Women did not have a Royal Rumble or a Money in the Bank or anything like that. And also in WWE, I believe it was WWE 2K14, or maybe it was WWE 13, there were 6, maybe 7 women in the game. And this year there are over 75. So to go from 1 championship and 7 women to 6 main roster titles, and then the others of the past and NXT, and 75 women. It's pretty fucking amazing.
It just really sucks. Destiny pointing out the fact that the average women's career was 6 years. Because you don't you don't really realize that. And like, I'm Googling several women's ages, and it's fucking mind-blowing. Molly Holly is younger than John Cena right now. I wanted to point that out. Mickie James is younger than John Cena. Melina Perez is younger than John Cena. These are women who are wrestling back in 2004, 2005. Molly Holly since like 2000s. And they could still be wrestling today, but because of the stigma around women in wrestling, think about how much better the wrestling division would be for women if we still had these women around today who are younger than your current WWE champion. Kelly fucking Kelly, by the way,
literally
is 15 years. She is 15 days older than Becky Lynch. That's 15 days. 15 days older than Becky Lynch.
Y'all, I think that's something we need to talk about is all of these women that did have 6-year careers, what they could have accomplished if they had been able and been given the opportunity to stay longer than that. If Trish Stratus was around for longer than 6 years, if Kelly Kelly was around for longer than 6 years, if Eve Torres was around for longer than 6-ish years, whatever she was around for. I am just spitballing right now because I know that Kelly and Trish had those 6-ish year careers.
And
it's
to
just
put
so
this
mind-boggling.
in perspective for you, Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled his first match in 1989. If he had wrestled his last match in 1995, we would have never gotten Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho wrestled his first match in 1990. He would have just been debuting in that era on Nitro when he would have left. So this is, yeah, these women weren't absolutely crazy in-ring competitive and amazing, but that's because they were at that stage of 6 years in their career. They hadn't even begun to really understand the deeper aspects of wrestling that you don't get until you're 10, 12 years into a career. Insane. All the stuff that we've missed out on.
Because Kelly Kelly retired when she was 25. Can you imagine if we had gotten another 10 years of Kelly Kelly? She is the reason that I got so into wrestling. She was for a very long time my favorite diva/female superstar of all time. I love that woman with my whole heart, and I was heartbroken when she got released. Now, obviously, she has been open that the reason she was released was because she wanted to pursue other opportunities, and they said, we're going to release you, but the door's always open. She came back for Royal Rumbles and a 24/7 title appearance. That's it. Can you imagine how much more we could have gotten if she had been given the proper opportunity, if there were more titles around, if there were more things to accomplish? It's insane. And especially her era of women.
If you weren't there for Kelly Kelly, she debuted and she was an exotic dancer and she was, I love her. She was great. She was a dreamboat for friggin' 7-8-year-old me. But when
she was 19.
When she started actually wrestling, she was literally named Most Improved Superstar of the Year for 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, and she deserved it. You could see her getting better week by week. I firmly believe, had she not retired at 25, had she not been surrounded by the shittiest people in the world, and she actually got nourished to have a full career, she would be one of the greatest ever. Not greatest women ever, one of the greatest ever. You do not realize how amazing she became nearly overnight. Insane. Also insane. This is a quick side thing. Stone Cold Steve Austin's first match on Raw, who was it against?
It was someone like the Godfather or Pedro Morales, or that's not correct at all, but
Pedro Morales is wild. You're never gonna guess this name. I could give you 6 years.
Savio Vega. Perry Saturn.
Matt fucking Hardy.
I'm out of here. I'm fucking out of here.
January 15th, 1996.